This is LaQueen Battle. I'm here on my way headed towards New York right now. September 11th is a very personal time for me. I remember I was in class in high school during that time and watching on TV with my Army ROTC classmates, seeing the towers being bombed and exploded by two planes driving into the Twin Towers in New York City and Manhattan, and seeing the look of shock as well as confusion on my classmates' face. I really did not understand how much of an impact that 9/11, just being the September the 11th, would have on my life, as well as my son, who was born on 3 days before the 10th anniversary of 9/11. So I know that it also has a very sensitive part of me. I chose to move to the Los Angeles area instead of moving on the East Coast to escape an abusive situation I was living in, apart from my relatives who did not help me with anything at all during that time, a very much abusive time in my life. So it's a very, very sensitive time for me, as well as I'm pretty much going through the same circle of dealing with the same emotions, being isolated as well as alone. And then on top of that, to find some way of how to still continue to service my country. I had during that time, 2 years afterwards, decided to join the military, and I did serve in the Army for a year or so, in my reserve unit, and had the chance of being deployed, but chose not to be deployed. So of course I'm dealing with the emotions that come along with serving in the military, as well as having a child born through the after effects of the war, through the Iraqi war. So it is a very emotional time for me. Fast forward 10 years later, 11 years later, I had pretty much lost everything. And I still right now do not have a cent to my name, but I am somehow trying to recover, as well as going through the same emotions, being exposed, being worthless to myself, worthless to my community, as well as worthless to my country. So this is a pretty much troubled time for a lot of people who are still having to rely on the federal government to cover expenses, dealing with them, expenses from PTSD, as well as going through the troubled times of losing their homes, losing their family, their loved ones, their sons and their daughters have also fought in this war. So it is a very much troubled time for myself, as well as for a lot of people who do not understand the after effects of war, as well as the after effects of surviving a terroristic attack on our country. Okay, so I am very much here. I'm still struggling, isolated, and alone, and having to face a lot of fears, face a lot of difficulties, dealing with the public, dealing with people who have given their lives and given their service to their country, and then on top of that, their country and the government not giving a damn about what they have done, and all their time and their energy having been put forward towards serving in the military, not honoring them for all the work they have done, or honoring them for their gratitude for giving their lives over to our country. It's a lot, because a lot of veterans are very much tired and frustrated, as well as angry that they went through all this period of difficulty troubled war, Iraq, Afghanistan, all of a sudden to lose the war and to fall back on everything they left behind in Afghanistan. And then to settle for pennies on the dollar, to settle for nothing. It is a lot. Some people like, it's old, and it's boring. It's old. But a lot of young people still have to face it, to deal with it. At the same time, you're dealing with a lot of other people who say that 9/11 never happened, that 9/11 never existed, that it never happened. I wasn't there, so it never existed to me. I wasn't there, so it doesn't matter to me. I wasn't in New York during that time, so it really doesn't matter. I wasn't there, so it never happened. A lot of people today believe that 9/11 never happened. But there's pictures, there's videos, there's proof. There is a memorial site in New York City, and still a lot of people believe, as of this day, believe that 9/11 never happened, that it was a plot by the government. Okay? You can believe all the lies you want to, but we are still here today honoring over 2,000 lives that were lost during a day or two and giving their lives over for our country on the sake of what happened. Whoever had any kind of means of any means to hurt our country, any means of terrorism. You know, we as a country right now have to unite, have to come together and say that we want to love and support and honor each other during this time of difficulty, during this time of pain and hurt that a lot of people still are very much frustrated about today in 2021. So you still have to face with it. You still have to deal with it, okay? But deal with the lies, deal with the hurt, and deal with the pain that are still being left today, okay? That's still being left today. So unfortunately, 9/11 is real, and it existed, and it did happen, okay? I myself am dealing with that pain. Even though I wasn't in New York City that day, it still affected me, okay? I still feel pain, and I still feel hurt from that day, okay? And I'm having to live with that pain from having a child, okay? Going through abusive time in my life, as well as serving my country and leaving in disgrace, having a disgrace discharge from the military, okay? So I still abide, and I still honor and will abide to protect and defend my country against all enemies, foreign and domestic. I will abide, I will try as much as I can to love my country, as well as to continue to provide services, medical services, and do whatever is necessary. Okay, it won't change overnight, but I know as well as other people around me, okay, and those families who are still surviving as of today, dealing with the trauma. It's going to take a lot. Okay, it's going to take a lot of time. It won't happen overnight, but it's still going to take a lot of time. So I'm here on my way to New York. I just want to say prayers, love, and gratitude for the survivors who are surviving today, as well as prayers from the families of the military servicemen and women who had given their lives over for the sake of our country. Okay, so this is LaQueen Battle First Aid Responder Services. I'm giving prayers and gratitude and much love and comfort to our families and our loved ones during this time. Again, this is not a funny time. It's a very serious and emotional time for a lot of people and families. There's nothing funny about it. There's nothing funny about the situation. There's nothing funny about what's happening in New York right now, as well as what's happening right now through the pandemic. It's nothing funny about this situation. There's no movies or anything that you can do to take away the lives that were lost during this time, okay? A lot of people from the South are still dealing with it, okay? but more people up north in Boston, DC, New York, LA, Chicago have more of an impact dealing with 9/11 than a lot of people down south. Okay, regardless of whatever the situation is, it has impacted people all around the world, not only here in the United States, but also in other countries around the world. Okay, so again, I'm still dealing with a lot of hurt and a lot of pain myself. I don't understand quite clearly how much of an impact. Okay, I wasn't there, so I really can't feel the pain of the families that lost their sons and their daughters to the terrorist attacks in New York City, as well as in Pennsylvania and even in DC. But I'm still dealing with a lot of hurt and pain, okay, myself, dealing with serving my country and not trying hard enough, not doing enough, okay? At the exposure of embarrassment, at the exposure of still being a single black woman, abused, alone, and isolated in this country, okay? Leaving an abusive situation, leaving rape behind, okay? A lot of people felt that, that our country was hurt during this time, okay? But at the same time, we are still learning how to recover from it and deal with it, okay? So prayers of love and gratitude to the families that are still trying to recover from the terrorist attacks in New York City as well as all around the world, okay? This is LaQueen Battle First Aid Responder Services. Please continue to keep me in your thoughts and prayers during this memorial celebration weekend in New York City. God bless you guys.